Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and this is a special edition of Breaking News for Thursday, the 17th day of October, 2024. Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has been killed. Yes, indeed. He's been killed in Rafah in the Gaza Strip. We also find that Prime Minister Netanyahu has spoken now to the world, and he says the axis of evil is now it's time to stop it, to free the hostages. He's made a special appeal to the Hamas people that are still in Gaza. And of course, Joe Biden tries to get on the scene, tries to take credit for the killing of Sinwar, but he actually opposed the Israeli operation. So let's look at this story. Okay, headline number one, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar is killed in Rafah in the Gaza Strip. This is from the Jerusalem Post. In an unexpected turn of events, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind behind the October 7th massacre and responsible for the abduction and murder of numerous Israelis, was eliminated by the IDF soldiers from the southern command. He was killed by the IDF in Tel Sultan in Rafah on Wednesday yesterday in an unplanned operation. Sources close to the matter confirmed to the Jerusalem Post Thursday evening, several hours after rumors arose that he had been killed earlier on Thursday. Shortly after 7:45 p.m., confirmation came from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, Shin Bet Foreign Minister Yisrael Katz, and others that Sinwar was in fact dead. So all indications are that there were no hostages that were killed with him during this unplanned operation. Our second headline, Netanyahu says now that Sinwar is dead, it's time to stop the axis of evil and free the hostages. This is also from the Jerusalem Post. Netanyahu spoke shortly after the IDF confirmed that its soldiers had killed the Hamas leader in Rafah. He spoke to the Israelis as well as addressed Gazans following the killing of Hamas here on October 17th, 2024. He said Hamas's assassination marks the end of the Hamas rule in the Gaza Strip. It opens the possibility of ending the Iranian-led access and creates new options to free the remaining 101 hostages, he told the people Thursday night. Hamas will no longer rule in Gaza. This is the beginning of the day after Hamas, Netanyahu stated shortly after the IDF confirmed that it successfully eliminated Sinwar. In an appeal to Palestinians in the Strip, this is an opportunity for you, the residents of Gaza, to finally break free from its tyranny. This dramatic announcement was first made by the IDF and then by Israeli leaders. It appeared to mark the symbolic end of Hamas's rule in Gaza, slightly more than a year after the terror group's invasion of southern Israel on October 7th, 2023. And of course, this has sparked a year-long military campaign to destroy Hamas, during which Israel ignored major American and international objections to its war on Hamas. And so praise God for that. And this is great, great news. And if you want further information on this, the latest, again, the Israeli websites, the Jerusalem Post, Ynet, New York Post has some good material on it. So if you want to look online, because there's new things coming in all the time, but we wanted to get this across from you. And a third headline from Breitbart, not surprising. Biden tries to take credit for Sinwar's killing, but he actually opposed Israeli operations. And Harris warned of the consequences of fighting in Gaza. Israel confirmed Thursday that its soldiers had killed Hamas leader Sinwar during a battle the day before in Gaza. This would have been impossible if President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris had their way. Nevertheless, Biden tried to take credit in a statement welcoming Sinwar's death. Shortly after the October 7th massacres, I directed special operations personnel and our intelligence professionals to work side by side with their Israeli counterparts to help locate and track Sinwar and other Hamas leaders hiding in Gaza. With our intelligence help, the IDF relentlessly pursued Hamas's leader, flushing them out of their hiding places and forcing them on the run. That's what Biden said. Now, in reality, Biden and Harris stood in the way of the Israeli operations that ultimately led to soldiers finding and killing killing Sinwar as follows. First of all, he was killed in Rafah, a town, remember, that Biden and Harris said don't enter. Israelis should not go in there. Harris warned of the consequences, including an arms embargo. Netanyahu ignored them, entered Rafah. Very few civilians were harmed, but now Sinwar is gone. Now, he was also killed, number two, near the Philadelphia corridor. His body was found in a building near that corridor, and that's the road alongside the border. The first thing the Israelis seized when they entered Gaza, the Biden-Harris administration had pushed Israel to give up control of the Philadelphia corridor and ceased ceasefire talks but Israel rightly refused, saying the corridor was essential to stopping weapons from flowing in. And here's the key to stopping Hamas leaders from fleeing. The Breitbart story also says that he was trying to sneak out. The coward was trying to leave Gaza when this happened. Now, Sinwar was killed number three, despite the threats of an arms embargo. The Biden administration threatened this, and Harris endorsed it, as we saw today earlier on breaking news. This arms embargo against Israel. Just a few days ago, the administration demanded Israel surge humanitarian aid into Gaza and scale back military operations, giving Israel just 30 days to do it. Number four, Sinwar was killed despite calls for a unilateral ceasefire that Biden and Harris called for. And number five, Sinwar was killed despite promises of intelligence in exchange for a ceasefire. It wasn't the U.S. that led them to Sinwar. What happened was they were fighting alongside the Gaza, the corridor there that leads right to the border between Gaza there and, of course, Egypt, the Philadelphia corridor. And they got into a firefight, these Israelis. And it turned out one of the three people they were firing at was Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas. Now, the former leader of Hamas, the dead leader of Hamas. And of course, Biden admitted later, after 2011, that the operation to kill bin Laden, he admitted later he had opposed the operation as being too risky for political reasons. When then President Barack Obama later campaigned on it for re-election, Biden famously declared Osama bin Laden is dead and General Motors is alive, referring to the automotive industry bailout. So, in other words, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are trying to take credit for something they had nothing to do with and they were opposed to it. We're not surprised by this. But at the end of the day, the good news is, and this is why we do this special edition of Breaking News, Yahya Sinwar, the leader of the October 7th, 2023 massacre that took so many lives, that has taken so many lives afterwards, has finally been eliminated. He is dead. He is the leader of Hamas, or he was. And so we'll see what happens from now on. This could be, day one. It's interesting. It happened on the one celebration that the Israelis are supposed to rejoice in, and that is the beginning of Sukkot, their tabernacles, as we talked about. And so we'll see what happens. But we needed to do this update for you, this breaking news. Like we said, we'll do more than one breaking news a day if something major happens. And this indeed is major. All right, I'm Don Stewart. Of course, we'll have more on this tomorrow. So until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.